Hi, my name's Theolyn and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about Dead Souls by Gogol, and this is part 2 of my review of Dead Souls. And I'm not going to be doing part 2 of the novel because Gogol left it unfinished. So we go back to black humor with Gogol. And when we left it off, Chichikov was encountering some slander from a person, and he is being discussed at a party, and the townspeople, I guess the majority at this point, just think, he's just too gentlemanly to be a forger. He's just too respectable. They just kind of don't believe the things that are being said about him. So the landowners are totally perplexed, and the postmaster comes forth with this conspiracy theory. You gotta love it. Conspiracy theories are as old as humans probably breathing air. And he comes forth and says that Chichikov is really Captain, let me get this right, Karpakin, and that this guy only has one leg and one arm, and he's putting forth this whole story about Captain Karpakin. But it's like plainly clear it's plainly clear it's not Chichikov, because Chichikov has 2 legs and 2 arms. And then the one guy is trying to say, well, maybe it's a wooden leg and it's got spring action, and he's like talking about the technology, about how fantastic it is now, and that maybe it really is this guy. Gogol is really, truly a funny character. The way he looks at the people, from the peasants to the nobility, he really hits on the middle class, but he is truly funny. And if you like that kind of dark humor, you really will like this, but you have to stick it out through kind of the more boring parts of the novel. It's picaresque. I said picturesque, but he likes to really detail every little thing, and that can get to be tedious for some readers, but then when he goes in for the people, he doesn't hold back. And then the others kind of get in the spirit of the conspiracy theory, and they put forth that maybe that Chichikov is Napoleon. It is funny. And then, of course, some people say, oh no, he's not Napoleon. And so they kind of devolve into this conspiracy theory baloney, and it's just pure silliness. So meanwhile, back at the inn, our old fella Nozdryov, he is taking his playing cards and he's marking them, and that's what cons used to, because he's also kind of a scoundrel con. He's just running more of a short con versus Chichikov's long con. Because honestly, these landowners, they all have their vices and their virtues, but that's what's great about Gogol. He's giving you little snippets with Chichikov coming through the land and conning all these different people. You really can't be conned if you don't have some greed in you at some level, usually. It's interesting. It really is truly interesting how Gogol attacks this. He has, like what I was saying initially in part 1, he has this satire, but he also has like a sympathy and a pity for the people, because he kind of thinks they've all got the vices and the virtues. So he doesn't really paint Chichikov in a totally black tar color. So anyway, I diverged, I'm sorry. Nozdryov is at the inn marking off his gaming cards so he can win at the next round of games, because he's marked the cards and he can put that in his favor with his cheating. And he comes and the officials start questioning him about Chichikov. What have you said? What is Chichikov really about? They're trying to get to the bottom of what's the truth about Chichikov. So Nozdryov says that Chichikov is a spy, and he's known as the informer, and that also that Chichikov truly is a forger. They ask him, well, is he really a forger? He says, oh yes, he's a forger. And he fills the officials' ears to the brim with just horrible stories about Chichikov. So Nozdryov does him dirty, because think, he and Nozdryov in part 1 have had a bit of a spat, because he didn't sell him any dead souls, and he wanted to play a game of chess, and they ended up getting a fight. It got broken up by a police officer. So Nozdryov is no great friend to Chichikov. Then he turns around, and you know what people do when they're a crap stirrer, right? He goes and he runs into Chichikov, but he more calls on Chichikov and tells Chichikov everything that he just told the police officer, But he didn't say he told him. He said, oh, the police questioned me, asked me if you're a spy, asked me if you're an informer, asked me if you're a forger, and I stuck up for you. I went to bat for you, you know. So he not only gets the officials stirred up about Chichikov, then he turns around and lets Chichikov know that the officials are looking into him. So Chichikov, he goes and he's calling on the governor's daughter because he's trying to woo her, and they just turn him away. Nope, go away. So then he's pretty much put on notice that things have changed in the town for him, right? So Chichikov decides to leave town, and the novel goes into a little bit about, he tells Cellophane, that's his driver, I didn't mention that, I only mentioned his other servant in the first part, but his driver's name is Cellophane, and he tells him, you know, ready the horses, we're getting out of town, get everything ready, just throw it in a bag, you know, dirty, clean, put it all together, we're leaving. And Cellophane dawdles, but he dawdles and to the point that Chichikov has to come and say, like, you know, it's been this much time, why haven't you got to move on? And Cellophane tells him, well, the horse needs to be shod, and the carriage, you know, has a broken wheel, and all these excuses as to why they can't beat a hasty retreat out of town. Chichikov doesn't want to hear any of it. He's like, get rid of the horse then, get it moving. And so they proceed out of town. And as they're proceeding out of town, they see a funeral procession, which sends Chichikov into thinking about how the deceased would be eulogized. And, oh, that part, I'm not even going to ruin it for you. That's funny, too. And he's thinking about what he's going to do. And this is where the author decides to take a break, switch it up, and to talk about the making of Chichikov and why he thinks Chichikov is a hero. He tells you that he doubts that you will think that Chichikov is a hero. I mean, he's sitting here talking to the reader, and he's having a chuckle saying, you know, this guy's a hero. I don't think you're going to think he's a hero. The women aren't going to think he's a hero. And he goes into great depth as to why you won't think so. He tells you he doesn't want a fake virtuous character as a hero. He wants a normal human being with blood running through his veins, with vices and virtues, to be the dang hero. And he goes and defends Chichikov, and it is hilarious. And this is what Gogol has to say about the making of Chichikov as a hero. As I was saying, it does not lie in me to take a virtuous character for my hero, and I'll tell you why. It is because it is high time that a rest were given to the poor but virtuous individual. It is because the phrase, a man of worth, has grown into a byword. It is because the man of worth has become converted into a horse. And there is not a rider but rides him and flogs him, and in and out of season. It is because the man of worth has been starved until he has not a shred of virtue left, and all that remains of his body is but the ribs and the hide. It is because the man of worth is forever being smuggled upon the scene. It is because the man of worth has at length forfeited everyone's respect. For these reasons do I reaffirm that it is high time to yoke a rascal to the shafts. Let us yoke that rascal. So in other words, he's saying, hey, I know Chichikov is a rascal, but I like him. And it's time for us to recognize normal human beings as heroes sometimes. They don't have to be Greek gods. They don't have to be someone from the Bible. They don't have to be some fantastic, fictitious person that doesn't experience the trials and tribulations of real life. So that's what he's saying. Hey, I think Chichikov's my hero. And so he proceeds to give you Chichikov's backstory. So Gogol proceeds to show us Chichikov's upbringing, that his father had showed him the art of self-denial. To Chichikov's father, money was everything. They scrapped and they struggled for every ruble. Chichikov is pretty much taught that that is the most important thing in life, is to acquire. And that's what's appreciated. And ironically, when his father dies, Chichikov is disappointed to find out that though his father had preached this his whole life, there really wasn't that much in the estate for Chichikov. I mean, he wasn't bitter about it. He just was like, wow, he preached all this stuff, but he didn't manage to pull it off, but I have had this instilled in me about pinching pennies, getting the most out of my money, making every kind of scam. They had him teaching mice in in school how to do tricks to get money out of the kids. He was the kid literally that brought the hostess cupcakes to school and waited till the kids were just starving and then overcharged them for the hostess cupcakes. I mean, the kid had, I guess you'd call it some hustle. And so they have him hustling as a kid for every single ruble or kopeck or whatever they call it. So yeah, his father tells him basically that money and the accumulation of money is the most important thing in life, and that's how Chichikov is raised. That's his mother's milk. That's his Bible. That's his 10 commandments. Make money, make money, make money, make money. You know what I'm saying? So basically, Chichikov ladder climbs to the point he becomes the customs official, and they show how he's great at it. He can sniff anything out like a bloodhound. But then he gets up into like a little bit of a fight with one of his colleagues, and it ends up ruining everything for him. And that's where he's left with 10,000 rubles and his 2 servants. And that's kind of where we pick up the story. But they give you the backstory. It's sad that this kid is raised to think that that's the most important thing in life, and to just do whatever you can do to get the money. They also show him learning about mortgages, and that's when he hits upon this idea that it doesn't matter if it's real. It doesn't matter if the dead souls are actually real on paper. They're, for all intents and purposes, real, and that he can pull off the scam of essentially looking like he has all this personal property and then going and getting a mortgage on all this, and then using that mortgage in a legitimate manner and eventually making like solid money. But it's almost like showing a bank statement that shows all that you have money in order to get more money. And I think that a lot of people in America and around the world do this exact same stuff. They make themselves look wealthy to accumulate more wealth. And when you go back to the root of the money to find they really didn't have any to begin with, but they were just so good at conning people, goes on every single day. And you could think, there's probably plenty of people like on Wall Street and the elites and all kinds of folks that, start off with a bank balance of low, making it look high, and then getting into the mix of all the big wigs under a false front, and then end up making money, and you'd never know that the initial startup money didn't really exist. This stuff goes on all day long, and I think that Gogol admired Chichikov's hustle, and I guess he really did stick to his rules of life to acquire things and to hustle at all costs. So that he thinks he's a hero. So Gogol pretty much tells you that Chichikov's not truly a villain, that he's essentially relatable, and that, Chichikov's an acquirer. He's not a villain. And if you really do think about it, you go back through the story and you think, well, yeah, that person was pretty greedy. Oh, the only one that really wasn't initially greedy was the one that just looked at it and thought they were friends and said, well, yeah, go ahead, take the dead souls. I'll give you the list, no big deal. But almost all of them had some kind of angle where they could also make money off of it. And it's just like anything today. It's hard to be scammed if you're not going to get something out of it. And Gogol kind of challenges the reader, is there not an element of me in Chichikov? And he kind of essentially, in a roundabout way, has the reader kind of search themselves to see, how am I like Chichikov? Long story short, Dead Souls is quite a little chuckle. If you can get through the more tedious bits of the story, then you will have yourself a good laugh, and you'll get to also kind of see what the scenes were like in 19th century Russia at that time, and it's interesting. Like, the visuals that are evoked are quite fascinating, and I just love the title of the novel, Dead Souls, because you kind of have a little bit of the dead soul in you to be selling and buying dead souls. So I think he's kind of trying to say we all have a little bit of that in us, and let's laugh at it, let's point it out, make a mockery of it, laugh at it, and move on. I do believe that in the second part that he was going to redeem Chichikov. And in the third, he was going to do something else in this trilogy. But for whatever reason, he wasn't satisfied maybe with the redemption arc of Chichikov, and he did burn the novel. So we'll never know how he would totally redeem Chichikov. They say like even that he left it off mid-sentence, so he really left it hanging. But I'm not going to go over the part 2 because I just, as an artist, I just kind of think that wasn't what he gave to the world. It wasn't finished. People could argue things are never finished as an artist, but he didn't actually publish that. So I think it's fascinating to read it, but I don't know what he really wanted. He had different attacks on it, on the part 2, different like elements of it, and it's fascinating, but it's not what he had published, so I'm just not going to do the official part 2. So anyway, so if you enjoyed this classic book review of Gogol's Dead Souls, please push the like button and ring that little subscribe bell, and you'll be notified of any classic book reviews. And without further ado, sally forth and have an excellent day. Take care. Bye.